Tom Spinners Watson. And I'm Frankie Guru Gibbs. And welcome to this behind the scenes look at the canyon. Welcome. So this is Chaos Canyon, and as you can see behind me, it is stuck on the wall of my shed, and it's not a particularly big shed, but it has shown some great action. It's been just a huge amount of fun to build. I am loving the community. I'm loving building tracks, doing the races, seeing what other people come up with, and just being involved in general. I mean, I love artistry in many forms, so whether that's making music, drawing, painting, building, Photoshop work, graphic design, you name it, I pretty much enjoy it, and this is just a natural extension of that. Let's have a bit closer look at the rest of the canyon. So most people will be familiar with this particular shot here. This is the start gate for the canyon, and then just around the back here is some shoddy wiring to the switch that powers on the two servos. So one is for the main canyon track, and then one is for the start of the helix here, or when I used to have the rocky road, it also controlled that gate. So these are just little servo controls. They're like $5 or something, and then that runs an actual servo, a little servo, which, let's see if you can see it here. So I've just built a very simple system, and that's the start gate for the canyon. And then on this one, it's a little bit more direct. I don't know how well you can see it, but this is actually just mounted straight onto the arm. So these pop straight up and down, but the wiring is a little bit shoddy on that one. I need to redo it. And then I've just got them running off the same power source. So I've just put a selector switch so I can switch between the two. And you know, I've said before, I can't extend the canyon. I need access back here, so I've got to be able to get into my storage. So this is as far back as I can possibly come down here. And you can see this part of the helix track. There's the rocky road there. There's, what's this bit? That was the original straight that got swapped out here for the rock slide track. And then down at this other end. So normally I have these prints which are quite large. This one is on a banner material, so it's quite heavyweight. That one at that end is just on a synthetic poster paper, so it's really light and is quite big, so it comes out all the way out to about here, and that just means that if the camera pans past this edge, hopefully you're not looking at my shed. But this is absolutely jammed up hard against the wall at this end as well, so there is no room to extend the track. And then down here, let me just pull this off. Oh, that one's glued on there. So I need this for storage because, again, I've got stuff everywhere in the shed. It's worse at the moment because I've just been building the hill climb track and the stadium track, so that's why all this stuff is here. A cat tower, because we've got two cats and they like to come out and help me build and race and stuff. There's Frank's garage sitting over there. Building materials, just like stuff for the house. Oh, my old radio control car. I used to love 1/10 radio control. That was awesome. And then I've got some Monsters Inc. toys, TV, and there's a video player there, or DVD player I should say. Then a Robo Sapien and a Robo Raptor and a few other toys and stuff there. Paints and tools. This filing cabinet's full of all my power tools. And then there's just box after box of cars, and then overflow down here. There's another big box with like monster trucks and stuff. This is where I keep the list cars for the Outlaws. So they all sit in order in here when they're not racing. And they've got their name. So it's a big deal. When you get on the list, you actually get your name 3D printed, and that sits with your car. So no one else gets that. Then here we've got the wannabes. So again, I keep names and names of the cars and all that sort of stuff. So they're all kept as clean and as nice as possible. And then here we've got the wannabes. So they'll be coming out soon. and there are some awesome cars there. I'm just waiting for a couple more to arrive. Little air compressor. So the compressor was really cheap, came with one airbrush, and you know, these airbrushes I think are like $15 New Zealand. I prefer the cup on top because it's nice and easy and doesn't take a lot of paint. I'll show you some of my paints in a minute. And so you can just put a couple of drops in there and spray pretty much a Hot Wheels car, and then you're good to go. And then more bits and pieces. So I've got wheels that I've pulled off cars here, body parts from cars that have been sacrificed, interiors. Then there's in here you've got some more figures and things, some of the stuff I've 3D printed or just accessories like barrels and that sort of stuff. A melee of a desk at the moment because I've been in between modding cars and getting stuff ready for the rally. Speaking of rally, these were some of the original hill climb drawings that I had, and this one here was going to be for in the actual canyon. So it was originally, the plan was to have the hill climb in here, but then I actually really like the helix track, which is why that's staying there, and I've got to find somewhere else for the rocky road for the rally. But the original hill climb was just going to be a straight shot up, a loop at the top, and then a bit of a wiggle, a jump down around, and then finishing up down here. It kind of worked. I might show you some of the test footage from that. And now into the tent. So this tent is on our back lawn at the moment because I've got nowhere else for it. I've put down some of this foam flooring, but here is the hill climb track. So you can see up to here is one piece. So that's 1200 by 600. There's another 1200 by 600. So both those bases are flat, and then I've built stuff on it. But this one is two 1200s stuck together because originally I was going to have it so I could pull it apart, and that just got too difficult with trying to get the track right. So I ended up screwing it all together, and that is on an actual slope. So from the very base down here, from the start point or from the lowest point going into the cow shed, all the way up here to that highest point of that corner is about 850 mil, so almost a metre. And that's quite a long way to get the cars up. So they really fly going out of here and through the 3 boosters and up. And then they're still really fast going down. But the thing is, you know, for replay factor, having them go too fast, it's just too much of a blur. So I've cut it back. And then I've made a couple of tweaks. One thing I realized when I ran the Looney Moonies was that I'd put a brick under that end to just align the 2 tracks, and I hadn't put one under this end. So I was getting a few more stall outs than I was during my testing. I couldn't work out why. And then I've also now lifted this up, so the elbow, and I've put an extra booster back there. So as they come around that corner, they now get quite a boost out, and it's also angled so that it shoots them into that outside wall, rather than have them come down and hit into it and stop. They zip around the outside now. So it's just, you know, cords everywhere. A couple of light panels in here to light it all, because again, this is just a standard sort of tent thing that you have at trade shows and that sort of thing. And then I'm going to replace the sheet for the actual race. Hopefully I've got a print coming, so hopefully that arrives on time, and then I'm using that brown material there as extra for mountain backgrounds and stuff. Again, the focus is more on the racing, and I've spent a lot of time on the diorama through here. And you know, again, there's a whole bunch of stuff you'll never see, like this little goat dude here. There's a photographer there. What else is there? Oh, there's just all sorts of little things, you know. But the cow shed where it's hiding one of the boosters, and you can see here these were taped on. I'm going to change this setup to have a different kind of wall, and I'll probably end up using that stuff down here so that if the camera comes down and you see that, you're not looking at this floor, which is kind of where I just grabbed that thing from. So I'll just turn on the boosters so we get a bit noisy. I might cut some music over this, and let's just throw a car so you can see it in real time. You can see, you know, these corners are actually banked as well. Somebody had said, oh, why didn't you bank them? Well, they actually are. So there's quite a big bank there. There's a big bank going into this one. There's a slightly smaller one there. And here, it's banked there, and it's banked into that corner. So there is a lot of banking in there. It's just it doesn't show up on video. Now, when I say I am out of space, I really mean I'm out of space. This is sitting outside my shed, just standing up. We've got a bit of an awning here, but you know, it's just sitting outside because I've got nowhere else to put it at the moment. And then there's a whole bunch of 1/24 scale cars there because I love those as well. But you can see the canyon here. You know, it's not a big space, so I'm just trying to make the most of what I've got. Two big softbox lights there, and an LED strip up here as well. That big light there can't be on, neither can that one, because they strobe really, really badly with slow-mo. So I've got to turn those off, which is a real shame because it does give a lot of extra light in here, but that's how it goes. You know, there's more stuff here. So there's track building supplies galore. There's cardboard and mesh and bits and pieces. Then in here, some foam. So this is just your standard expandable foam, and this is what most of the rocks have been made out of on the hill climb track. But for the canyon, it was actually a high density foam. So you can see actually here. So this is your standard insulation foam. And what I ended up doing was, it was 50 mil thick, and I got the handsaw out and sawed them in half, and that gave me most of this texture. And then I just went in with a knife and cut out some of these deeper divots and stuff, and you can see it all through here. So you know, like all these cuts are just gouging with the knife and then just gluing random bits on, and you don't often get to see this up close. So you know, I tried to put some detail of some moss growing and darker in the bottom areas where water would have sat for a while. You've probably never seen the little elephant sitting up there. There used to be a gorilla sitting back there. No one ever noticed that, or mentioned it at least. And again, you know, this is right up into the rafters of my shed, so I painted them blue. It was the best I could come up with. And then just this print all along here of these trees, just to try and give a bit more of an illusion. Then the garage. So this sign here is made of your standard floor foam. So this stuff here, like your gym mats and that, painted up, all hand cut. And then this lettering, which is all sort of three-dimensional, is cut out on my Cricut cutter and then painted up. And then this garage here, if I can get it out. So you never get to see inside of it, but it does actually, I can open it up, and you know, it's got a full print on the back wall in case I ever did close-ups with it. A couple of petrol pumps out front, and it does have lights in there as well, but I don't tend to turn them on because in KM Corner here the cars pass so quick you never really see it. And then down to Buster's Donuts. Let's just grab him out. So Buster's Donuts, I actually just installed a switch on the side here to turn the lights on, and the sign had broken just recently when I was trying to fix something. So I ended up remaking it, and I wired this to a higher power, and now it doesn't actually rotate fully, but it does rock backwards and forwards, but that's okay. And again, inside, you know, there's a menu with pictures, and there's in the bottom of the cabinet there's pictures of donuts and things, and there's a full menu printed in there. Even though you never get to see that close on it, I sort of figured, you know, if I was doing some filming outside, you could look through and see those things on the wall. And then Floral Motel. So again, this was just on a piece of the high density foam, and this was all bits of about 250 gram cardboard cut out about 5 times. Don't know how well you can see the layers there, and then all glued together and aged up. And obviously the F and the L fell off one side, but it's there on the other. And then this little foot extension here is just to stop it flopping over, so that sits in under the track there. And you know, it means that if a car falls off or it gets bumped, it doesn't fall over completely. And then there's not really anything in there apart from lights, so that you know, when you turn that on, you can see in behind some of the windows. So some of them have a cutout so you can see through it, and then others it's just black. And then the diner. So again, this is designed to open up, and you know, it's got prints of stools, and it's got a bench and everything there, and all this detail that's just ridiculous and you never see. So it's, you know, might be a waste of time, but I really enjoyed doing it. And again, this was the very first light box sign I did. This was cut out with my Cricut cutter. This is just on some like acetate stuff. So this stuff here, it's just a frosted clear plastic, and then just glued on with a glue stick onto there, and then lights in behind. This is all just a thin corrugated model cardboard, and then this is some foam core board around there. And then, you know, obviously the whole aesthetic of the canyon is rusty and broken and things like that. When I rebuilt the canyon, and I used to have jump cam down in the center there, I moved it up and just made this little holder here for it, and then that just sits in behind that little sign. And that sign is actually double-sided, because when I originally did it, it was facing back the other way. Well, you could see it from the other direction. So then all of the billboards, so these are all handmade, and they're super easy. Like, you don't need to pay a lot. You can see this is just like some cheap cardboard from some packaging, printed out on my home computer. And then this is just a little bit of Paylite, which is what my track's made out of, some styrene L brackets super glued together, and then just some more styrene hot glued onto the back of it. So it's super simple, and all of these billboards are the same size, so I just made a bunch of them at the same time, so I can just easily swap out those wherever I want. Now, some people have asked about this dude. So this is my little graffiti artist, and he will show up at different places in the track. So like, he was sitting here, then the week after he moved, that was there. Same thing with the jade monkey head. He was hanging off here for a while he painted up the RTR sign, and that's actually 3D printed. So this is actually 3-dimensional, it's not just paint on there. And same thing on the side there, it's the Jackson Pass. So shout out to Mike, Brian and Mark. So Jackson Pass, Flat Rabbit and RTR, we chat all the time, and you know, bounce ideas off each other, and it's just been awesome. And there's a bunch of other people out there too that you know, chat to regularly, and it's just a really good community to be part of. Now I'll just show you some of the storage of these cars as well, because a few people have asked. Oh, and these things are just slot in here so that I can move them in and out. As you've seen, it's a very tight space for me overall, and just having those there means that I can fit my camera slider on. So this is just a 3D printed camera slider. So this is just a couple of bits of aluminium tube, 3D printed end bracket, 3D printed slider, and then, you know, you can sit your camera on here, slide it along, and it's nice and smooth. Obviously not so this is in shot, and I usually have it sitting on one of these supports out here so that the camera is also a little bit lower, you know, when I'm doing my scroll past on the Outlaws or things like that. So, storage of cars. I found these boxes fairly early on, which are really good. So I can fit 24 cars in here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of those boxes just along the bottom, and then I can fit another 2 there. So I can fit 11 of those. So that's like 200 cars a box. So you can see those are all full. That one down there is full. I've got cars all over the place. The ones on my desk, those ones there. But, you know, these are really handy to fit 2 cars in at once. And yes, I do have a stack of these. It's because I want to mod them and do a JDM tournament and a few other things that I want to do with them. So I tend to try and store my cars by type, and it changes all the time. So I try to keep like my JDMs together. Then I've got a stack of Fords and Caddies, Corvettes, British cars. Then I've got rally cars in there. I've got muscle cars. So I'm mostly into muscle cars. So that is just about like 2 boxes. I've got a couple of these full of Mustangs, as you would have seen in the Mustang tournament. I've got movie cars that don't really run on the track. They're just there for show. So you'll see them in the background occasionally. Or up on the track. And then I've been grabbing these. So these are the Pontiac GTO, but in New Zealand they were known as the as the Holden Monaro, and very, very popular. So I've just been grabbing those when I can, because again I want to do a big race of those and have some fun with that and mod quite a few. Then I've got the V8s here that were running on the Canyon. So these were all rubber wheels. They're not Hot Wheels brand. The wheels run really rough. They're not round, and they're a solid axle. So you know you can't spin one wheel without spinning the other, which normally doesn't go well. But thankfully on the Canyon track it seems to last. And this bridge is now designed to come out. So I've got lights under here because it gets very dark down here. I had to light under here and into here. And so I've set it up now so that I've got connectors here so I can unplug that. And that was why in the first rally where I had the Rocky Road and the Helix track, you kind of lost them behind here because I couldn't take that out at the time, but that's now designed to come out. So that will happen for the next rally. And the bridge and the whole track has had, you know, a bit of an update. So you can see down here is where it actually used to go. So it used to drop down really low and come up quite steep, and then it had a much bigger drop here. So what I tried to do is just flatten this out a bit. They still get air if they're going quick, and you can see the marks in the track here where they land a lot of the time. So you know there's some big scratches from where they've really pounded into the thing here, and then you know this corner, it's hard to show on video, but this has got a serious bank to it. So from the inside corner to the outside is like about that much drop. So it is actually severely banked there. And then this free floats, and there is a foam piece in behind here that has a gap to the very bottom. And the reason for that is when the cars come in, it just takes a little bit of the pace out of it and makes it less likely for them to roll over. For whatever reason, sometimes they still roll over around here, but most of the time they seem to get through okay. And I'm okay with that, you know. It's Chaos Canyon, it's not driving Miss Daisy Canyon. So, you know, and you can see all the marks from the paint scratches and things here as well. I love that. I love seeing the canyon evolve over time. And then there's my dude flattened under the falling rock. So he literally was squished out. If you go back to the original launching of the new Chaos Canyon, so Canyon 2.0, there was a brief close-up of that with the feet under it. Some people noticed it, but not everyone. And this is designed to just lift out, and the whole track has to be able to unscrew and come down. Basically all of these wall panels down here and here just held in by magnets, so I can pull all of those out if I need to take this track down. Because I had to put the screws right on the inside, it just made it very difficult if that stuff was glued in. So it's just added complexity to everything, but you know, it's kind of how it goes. The lower parts though are all glued in, so they are hard glued to the wall of the shed. What else have we got in here? Oh, this was the old waterfall, and I was going to have actual water here, but it was getting too hard, and I was like, oh, you know what, I just need to get the canyon up and running. That's kind of how that goes. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this video. If you liked it, it's quite different for us. We tend to not show anything behind the curtain, but just thought as a thank you to everyone, you know, we've had a heck of a year. We started up in, was it like April 2020, as New Zealand went into a level 4 lockdown. And just a clarification, I live in New Zealand, not Australia, not England, so all those people that get my accent wrong, this is me, I'm a Kiwi, deal with it. You know, so we started in lockdown, and if you go back to the very first race, which was the Canyon Overlord, so that was the first race I ever put out here. It was almost an hour long. It was an absolute monster, and the track was built with what I had on hand, because we literally couldn't leave the house. No stores were open outside of a supermarket, and so it was cutting up what I had around the house, using old sheets for the walls, you know, as much hot glue as I had left to try and build the track. And it was rough, but man, it was so much fun. And so once we got out of lockdown and I could start buying things, that's when I wanted to build this proper diorama. And it's just been so much fun, it really has. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what the next year brings. But as I said, let us know in the comments what you think about this, and in terms of memberships, what sort of stuff would you like to see? You know, if you're paying a little bit extra to help us out, to help me out, to be able to do more of this, what sort of stuff would you like to see? And of course, check out the merchandise. You know, this also helps me over at Teespring, so chaoscanyonmerch.online. Go check it out. I wear this with pride, I love it. You know, and I love the Canyon Outlaws, and I really appreciate the builders that are taking part in it. You know, we keep it quite exclusive at the Canyon. I don't have storage space to store hundreds of cars. I don't know how some of the tracks done it. Like Jim D over at Indiana Diecast with the Sock Hop Slam, 170 cars. I mean, that's ridiculous. I couldn't keep track of all of those. And also, you know, I don't send cars back because the cost of freight to New Zealand is at least $20, and getting it back is at least $20, and that's untracked. If I track a single car back to the States, it's like $50, and that's just ridiculous. And then on top of that, I don't have time to be running off to the post office all the time to send cars back. So whoever sends cars here, they stay here. There will be times when I'll give those to a charity, or sell them off for a charity or something like that. But overall, I try to give people the most racing action that they can. So, and you'll see that in the Outlaws races. You know, even the ones that aren't on the list get to race pretty much every time the Outlaws is on. And I do that as a sign of appreciation. So rather than it being one race, you've spent all that time building it, you send it, there's all the anticipation and the excitement of it arriving, and you see it on 2 races and boom, that's it. You know, you didn't qualify or whatever, and so you don't get to see it. I like to try and let it run a bit more often. It's been an amazing year since we got into this. Huge shout out to 3D Bot Maker. Like probably most of you watching this, we got into it because we saw what he was doing. Now, we definitely are not trying to copy him, but we were definitely inspired. And, you know, we try to do things differently. I try to add my Kiwi style, and it is just me. So a lot like 3D, it's just me. I do everything here, and I've got a full-time job, but I would love to be doing this full-time. It would be amazing. So every time you leave a comment, you leave a like, and you subscribe, it really does help out the channel, and it helps me out. So I really, really appreciate it. And we've got lots of really cool things planned for the future, new races, new tracks that I want to build, but I just need the space. So the more support I can get, the more I can do. All right, thanks very much for watching. I'm Tom Spanners Watson, and I'm also Frank the Guru Gibbs. So thanks very much, and I will see you next time.
Should we be worried about all those dead bodies? I don't think they're dead, mate. I think they're just resting. And who was that big bloke that was there? I don't know. Haven't seen him before.